Call this meeting to order. Could I have the roll call, please?
Wooten,
She'll be late.
Boyden,
Unable to make it this evening?
Haverly,
Here.
Chesley, Dumont,
Unable to make it?
Fletcher,
Yep, here.
Knox,
Here.
Kugelmeyer, present. Liberty,
Here.
Martin,
Here.
Mishu,
Here.
Rudnicki,
Here.
Porter Lawrence,
Here.
student rep.
None yet. Okay, let's have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Number technique.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I was going to take it.
So I'm going
That's
to
right.
turn this part of the meeting over to Dr. Naiman, and for those of you, I'm sure most of you already know, but Dr. Naiman is our new superintendent that the school board hired the beginning of August. Dr. Naiman.
Well, when I was hired, you guys told me that as of September 1st, there would be a honeymoon. I just want to know when it's going to start.
Nope.
Nope.
No, sir.
It just will never end.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
No
thing.
beginning,
I
but
can't hear
there's no
him.
end.
You got to talk louder.
All right. So, if I may, I take a motion for election of the school board chair.
So-
Shelley?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Boom.
Abstain? We don't have any, right?
So much for
The
that.
motion passed. May I have a motion for vice chair?
I nominate Tim.
Second.
Any discussion?
I,
What's that?
how do you nominate a second person?
No, she nominated Tim, and I
Okay.
seconded the nomination.
Okay.
All in favor?
Jenny. I do too. I
All
want
in
to
favor?
nominate. We have another nomination.
Okay.
Jenny Boyden for vice chair.
I second it.
Second. So we, at this point, we
Now,
go to the
now you,
waiting.
nope, you take a
ballot.
ballot vote.
Yeah. We have written ballots ready, if we could.
Yeah, no problem.
We also have the weighted.
Nothing
Oh,
against
okay.
Timmy,
Pass them down. Is
Yeah.
that all right?
he's a Republican though. I know. See, that's it right there.
Hey, you guys, can you just all remember to speak up, because
Yes.
we got the fan, and
Sure.
then we're on this weird, like, hi, Kate!
Oh, this
So,
Jim is
there's a lot of, like,
Sure.
between me and everybody else, there's a lot of human barrier for,
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially like me, if you have a soft voice like me. I
I
definitely
don't have a
raise it.
soft voice, that's not my voice.
Her name.
I
Do you
definitely
have to write
raise
the
it.
town?
I
No.
always had a problem coaching
Just put her
too. I
name.
couldn't-
Just put her name.
Yeah.
Whatever name you want.
So if you can remember to
Who's gonna
just
collect
put your
them?
name on the bottom, and that's just for their,
You have to put your name
so that if we
What?
have to go to weighted votes, they know how to weight them.
Oh, God.
If you could do me a favor and hand them out to Rebecca. When you're done.
Hand him this way.
Yes, please.
Who's going, where they going? This is America right now. This is America.
Yes, you can put your name in.
Any more?
Yeah, they're still coming.
Let's not take all day.
All set.
I just got here, I didn't even know what we were voting for.
It was a Clinton fair traffic, right?
Did you get the bag we had for you?
Not yet. I don't know if she did yet. We'll get it for her in a minute.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
gonna do the mid-main thing?
Yeah, I'd like to.
Just for you. Oh,
Janice?
you already have one.
No, yeah, we sacrificed one.
Oh,
Oh, you
she's already got
for-
one. Well, no,
We don't know who.
Is there a second one? You gave yours.
there was an extra one down there
There
already,
was?
so. Janice, these are your co-curricular passes.
Oh, okay.
So you haven't killed Lucy yet?
No, Kevin's been super helpful, honestly.
Bet you haven't found him. He's your arms?
He has to share an office with me.
Oh, wow.
No, he really has.
No, he's an old friend. I've known him forever.
He's funny. He keeps telling me he's 5 years.
Whatever.
I don't know.
She does.
I think
she
so.
does?
I think so. Yeah.
Yep. No, she told me.
All right. Yeah, because usually you have to accept
I
the
don't-
nomination. first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I like to tease her, but not enough, so I nominate her as vice chair.
Yeah.
So that
No, I talked to her the other day. You're gonna need a calculator.
Sean, sorry,
Brian?
Brian, does the elementary also use, this stuff at all? They do, so we'll split. 20 nights in 20 different hotels is what that is. So we'll split it between, if Clinton uses.
Shelley, you know what?
Shelley, that sounds
Shelley?
like a Harlequin movie.
I know,
Shell,
yeah,
in legal circles, they call that theft.
it is.
Yeah, actually.
Why,
So,
if it's part of my
you didn't
hotel room
use it.
night stay?
yeah, it was part of your hotel room, and you took it.
Was.
Larceny.
Okay, was,
Was.
I didn't tell you which hotel, right? Okay.
We can see the bottles, all right?
Yeah, but they're not listed.
Did they say name on
It's a
it?
gratuity. It's a gratuity.
I left gratuities.
Exactly, it's a
There
gratuity.
goes
And I
Colby.
think since you crossed state lines, it's a
There
federal
goes Colby
offense.
talking big words.
Thanks, Ron.
It's just a brand. It's called Hilton brand.
I didn't say
So-
too many Hiltons. Oh, there's a bunch of them in there.
Hotel 8,
No, I don't stay at I don't stay at motel.
Comfort Inn.
Not a very good, not a very good setup here. We gotta fix this up.
Tim Martin.
You just say
Uh,
the total.
No, you don't even have to do the total, just Tim Martin.
Okay, based on the weighted vote, we have Mr. Martin as the vice chair. I'm going to keep this for the record. And congratulations to both of you,
Thank you.
and thank you for everyone for voting. I'm going to hand this back to the chair.
Edward, thank you. All right, so approval of the minutes.
Wait, we gotta vote.
Oh,
Oh,
oh, sorry,
Well, you
that's
don't have
right,
to
we
let
have
me,
one
but-
more.
motion for the Mid-Maine Vocational Center Governance Board Rep.
I nominate Ron.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
I double nominated him.
Thank you, sir.
All in favor?
Can you,
Opposed? Then vote unanimous?
yeah, unanimous.
Unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Approval of the minutes. Vote to, I need a motion to accept the minutes for the June 14th, 2018 board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Tim, seconded
Terry.
by, moved by
Terry and Ron.
Terry, seconded by Ron. Any discussion? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 9, 9. Opposed? Abstain. 901. A vote to accept the minutes of the August 2nd meeting, August 2nd, 2018 board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Tim, seconded by, I think I heard Ron.
Yep.
Okay.
Ron? Any discussion? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Abstain, opposed? Abstain. One abstain? Okay, I'm missing somebody. Janice, did you vote
Yes, I did.
to approve the minutes? Or to abstain? Okay, so it should be 9-0-1. It was 9.
You wouldn't think we'd be this out of practice. You
I
what
know.
I'm saying?
It's the table, it's throwing off all, it's like,
I know.
that functionality.
Yeah, I think.
I know, we gotta get used to it,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, it's,
I like it.
we gotta move it around a little
I
bit
don't
more.
have to look.
Okay.
Make it more.
Okay. Citizens input. This is the period in the meeting that we ask that if there are any citizens present that have anything they'd like to address the board, this is the time to do so. Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Could you give us your name first, please?
Sally Melton-McKegney,
Yes.
and I would like to talk about electric school buses.
Okay. Yes, you are welcome to speak to us on that. I did get your email. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Come forward.
Just
Okay.
kind of stand up here in the middle so we can hear you. With the
Okay.
fans, we can't necessarily.
I'm sorry I'm late. I started out at Benton Elementary.
Oh.
And again, my name is Sally Melton-McKegney. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 37 years. I'm really concerned, as you can imagine, about health of our children and of all people. If you look at the main CDC website, you'll find statistics for asthma, and the short story is that asthma is much more prevalent than it was when I was a child growing up in Bingham, and the severity of asthma is increasing as well. There's a correlation between asthma and the quality of the air we breathe. We can change that, and right now, school districts have the opportunity to make a difference by acquiring electric school buses. These have a range of 100 miles. They're available through the Volkswagen settlement, which Volkswagen had to pay for falsifying data about their car's gas mileage. Schools can apply for buses through the Maine DOT. The settlement pays almost all the costs of the buses, and the remainder can be paid by a grant from the Maine Diesel Emissions Reduction Act. Information on both can be found at the Maine DOT website. I'd like to see schools in our school district get some electric buses. Buses older than 2007 are particularly scary, as emissions come directly into the cabin of the bus as well as out the exhaust. But any bus older than 2010 can be replaced by an electric school bus under this settlement. So if it's older, if it's 2009 and back, it can be replaced. I want the best for the children in our area. I want Central Maine to be the best place to be a kid. Health and the ability to breathe freely is key to that quality of life. I hope you'll consider obtaining some electric buses for our school district. And I did send some members email with some links, and I will send the more emails when I get home to the rest of you, because I think you'll find it interesting. So thank you for your time, and thank you so much for serving on the school board. You are making a difference to our future.
Thank you. I did receive the email, and it has been passed along to the superintendent, and
How many buses do we have older than 2009?
we got a list. We have quite a few.
But we have
We have
several,
some,
right?
yes.
We received the email. I received the email, as well as some of the board members. So, spoke to the director of operation. We're going to apply for it.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
hope you would support that.
Thank you for bringing it forward.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you for
thank
bringing.
you so much. I'm so pleased. I can't tell you. It makes me feel so good.
Yeah, could you push, if you could just let him know we're interested, so we can get one, maybe?
Citizens Initiative, you know?
I have that power.
Or maybe two we could.
I do have also just an article, if you know anyone who might be interested. It's 2016, but it's kind of about the start
so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the board this
Why not?
evening?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's
This
great.
is also the time of the meeting where I bring up things that you can do for the school district that don't cost you any money. From box top to education, which all of our schools, all of our elementary schools, as well as our junior high school collect. And that is basically free money. It's 10 cents for every box top you turn in, and our schools, whether it's the PTOs or the schools in general, use it for ways to help kids. We also have the ability, if you do stay places and you like to, and you collect the shampoos and conditioners, things, our kids can use them. We have some kids that are in need for things, so we do pass those along. So that's what those are there for both our all through our schools, and both the elementaries and the secondary schools as well. Does anybody else have anything that they want to announce under this section? Huh? Go ahead.
All right, so our junior, senior high school backpack program started this week, I believe Tuesday. Kate got food in, Mark can probably tell us more. So we have a lot of people to thank with that. We were able to raise $10,000. I couldn't possibly name everybody, but we did hit our goal. We need to maintain that goal, so soon I'm gonna send a letter to Dr. Nyman to please send out to all the staff to beg, borrow, and plead that they all, you know, at least try to do some payroll donations and deductions. It was suggested by one of our teachers, Mr. Eric Brown, that a good way to keep that program running would be through our own employees association. If we can get enough feedback and support from our staff, maybe we can expand that into our elementary schools as well. So we have our backpacks. Rusty Mercier, our shop teacher, built shelves this week, and I believe food was distributed Tuesday.
Yes.
So I brought in some can
Can
openers as well. That was a need. So I'm hoping that will really take off. And we need to support that. It will help the food insecurity in our schools, help the guidance counselors, the principals, and it's a very discreet program. So, you know, fortunate to have it. Ron, go ahead.
Is there any reason that board members have to be paid only twice a year? Or is that just convenience? Because what I would like to do is I'd like to take my board pay and put it toward the backpack.
Me too.
I mean, and that way we could have a monthly or however it breaks up. You know, it's only $10 or $20 a month or
No.
whatever it is, but hey,
$10 is good, $10.
that's right.
We have a little over 400 employees. My goal was if each teacher or employee would donate a cup of coffee every other week, $2.50. It's $5 a month. We would raise well over $20,000 a year, and we could handle all our schools easily. So that will be in my letter, that will be my beg and my plea. I'll still go out and hit the community, but I think we can hit the community to build better things and advance on this program. I also want to thank Jess Buck, Josh Blaisdell, and a few others that worked on the food garden this summer. If you didn't
Yeah.
see it when you drove in, it's amazing. They got a great haul today that they gave to the kitchen. They're gonna make some pumpkin pies.
Oh.
So they took in a ton of pumpkins today. They just did an amazing job on that. Made great use of our space. Who knows in the future, maybe a greenhouse. Dr. Nyman's got some great ideas, so. I'm just thrilled that we were able to pull this off in a very short time. I mean, literally in a
Yes.
couple of months, we got this done and it's up and running for our school
Awesome.
year. So
And mostly through the Tim.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank
he
you.
was the
Tim.
catalyst,
Thank
that, you know.
Absolutely.
there was a need, so.
You ran with
we
it.
were able
Yep.
to take care of it.
Yeah,
Can we ask a
sure.
quote for a special letter for you?
I really hope the Employees Association realize that need. I mean, I don't think $2.50 is a lot to ask. So that will be my goal, and hopefully we can commit to that, keep it. Tara has, we can do one-time donations through the Alumni Association as well. So if somebody doesn't want to do a weekly amount, it's tax deductible as well. So kind of like the United Way and things like that. We're going to take care of our own. So I hope you'll support us as we continue with that program.
Thank you, Tim. I was, actually, Mr. Caverly just reminded me that Hannaford dollars are going on right now too, and all of our elementary schools are collecting Hannaford dollars So if you do shop at Hannaford and you get those, there are slots right at the store that you can use for your grocery shopping. When
Even
you're-
if you
and then
don't shop in Hannaford, it's a good reason to go to Hannaford.
That's right, because they're
yeah.
giving money out to the schools, so we appreciate that. Thank you for reminding me of that, Neil.
No, it's a lot of
Old
money for her to
business,
go.
we have nothing, unless anybody else has anything under old business, we have nothing under old business. New business. Everybody got their paperwork in the mail, with your agenda, and the first, item of business under new business is the, superintendent's entry plan. If you look at your paperwork, Dr. Nyman, listed out, what his basic, entry plan is. You would have got it in your paperwork. Take that as a general plan. I mean, that it doesn't have to go specifically, but it is a general, plan that he wanted to put forth. And just what we would have a vote to accept is, this is his plan to, as the superintendent, so, to work on. And like I said, it is a general plan, so something may not be exactly what you're thinking, or there may be a word change or something that's different, but it's, general. So he would like, to get and he can
Yeah.
speak to this, just a vote on that as well.
Yeah, I appreciate Ms. Boyden sent some comments on that, which I made a correction to. Basically, it's a general intention is to, I'm going to speak louder. General intention is to begin the process of listening. So the whole intention is to listen and review all the practices in past. And one item that changed was to review some of the budget documents, which by error was 2006, but what I meant is all the budget that exists, the documents in the past. The whole intent is, as whole, to have an entry plan where it begins by listening and have a process of going to every school, listen to, and spend a whole entire day in the school, spend time going over each classroom, talking to teachers, and the evening of it to have a meeting with the parents. So I will send out that schedule once I work out with the principals. The entry plan is nothing but an intention to listen and to hear. So I call that more of a hearing tour. So the idea is within 100 days to come to you with some sort of a report or recommendation. And when I begin at September 1st, my hope is I would target December 10th, perhaps December 10th meeting, December 20th meeting. But I need to know where I am and report back to you in September to kind of give you an idea where I am. That's the whole intent, to listen.
So one of the things in the past when we did superintendent's review, which I think you all have heard my lengthy oration on that topic, the lack of its robustness. So one thing I would put forward in the board is the first time when we do Dr. Neiman's review, that it includes some of these, like I looked at the specific objectives, and I think they're good, and I think that they're achievable. When I read through this, I also tried to be, in my own mind, like what was actually achievable, in a year, and what was, a realistic goal. But as the board, I would like us to come up with some objectives and, for a review. So an example would be like, the fiscal aspects of the school district, working in with various different administrators, so I would like us as a school board, I'm just putting it out there, to seriously consider this time, because now we have a new superintendent and we can have a new process, because I don't think anybody can really do their job effectively without having a substantive review, and I always was, as we
Yes.
know, super annoyed at that whole process.
Yes.
If I may, I think what happens next for me is once we begin the strategic planning process, the document that comes out is going to have a specific goal and objectives, and then I'll come to you, as you mentioned, which I think your point is well taken, and absolutely. Then I will come to you and say I will accept those goals as my goal.
Yeah.
So you will evaluate based on what the strategic planning goals specific objectives. And document sometimes shows that, by this date to submit a plan in regard to the scheduling or something like that. So I think maybe by then, I will have a better idea to be more specific to do that. But in general, I would just say I will accept whatever the strategic planning goals and objectives are, and I will try to do that more specific then. I think I would get a better idea then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and I can share and I'll send things, just to the board about what I think are like reasonable and that we can develop that will be robust,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, thank you, Cara. So what I will need is a motion to accept Dr. Neiman's entry plan.
Make a motion to accept Dr. Naaman's.
Second.
Moved by Tim, seconded by Ron. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Ten. All right, 10, 0, 0. So there's only 10 of us here, yes. The next item up would be a vote to authorize the superintendent to seek bids for strategic planning consultancy in accordance with the M.S.A.D 49 policies and not to exceed 15,000. Dr. Naiman, do you want to?
Yes, I wanted to, I received really great comments and feedback from Ms. Boyden through the email. So in accordance with that, I attached in the paperwork they have, an RFP form. So what this intention of the vote is to allow us to go for an RFP, and I attached that in your written form. And that RFP really indicates, first of all, not to exceed that amount. It indicates in the written RFP that you have in the packet. You should have that.
I don't see it.
Is that the one you left or you emailed out?
The one that I left, yes.
tonight?
Oh,
So the whole intent of that is, when you do bidding, I wasn't planning to just go, let me get 3 bids. What I had planned to do was develop an RFP language and then come through you to see that RFP language before I go out. That RFP language, if you could take a look at it, this just allows me to begin the process of finalizing that RFP process. And then September 20th come to you.
did we get that?
I put it, I think it was attached to your packet. I don't know, did we add that?
I don't have it in the packet.
Yeah, I don't have.
It's the one that was dropped off tonight.
It's at the end, request
It's the one that was in the
proposal.
bag.
Yes,
Oh.
the RFP.
Not the one that was mailed to us. The one
Yes,
that was in the bag.
exactly.
In the
Oh,
bag
I
on the
didn't get a
table.
new bag.
It was in the
tonight.
bag?
Okay, I didn't get a new bag tonight, so it's not.
So, September 20th, I will come to you with the RFP, because you could take a look at it and give me some feedback. And I basically have the language. I like to work through a protocol for us to follow that for all bidding process. That language RFP, September 20th, come back to you to see if you have any feedback, and then go forward after. So this vote only allows me to further develop that RFP. And then come to you September 20th. Between now and September 20th, if any feedback you have, I welcome that and make any changes.
So when I looked at the scope of the work,
Yep,
you want the consultant to guide you through planning and communication. So basically helping to look at the strategic plan, gathering data, formalizing the plan, and then helping implement it. And so the strategic plan, is this a 5-year, a 3-year, like what's the?
I really wanted to, had the intent to call it Vision 2020. I wanted to do a short term and then come back to it to develop a longer, I can't see you, I'm gonna,
It's okay, it's all right, it's okay.
to come back and do a 3-year after.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe I really need to do a 2020 first to start a conversation, and then come back perhaps do expanded one.
Because,
Oh.
I mean, I haven't gone out and looked at other schools' plans, but before we sign off on that, it might be worthwhile, so we have an idea, and then also understand, I've just worked with a lot of consultants, and I'm not against it, I'm not against working with consultants, don't get me wrong, but I do want us, that's a big chunk of change.
Yeah.
And I want us to be super strategic about what the outcome will be, because the creation of the strategic plan in my mind is often the easiest. It's the implementation that's the super hard part,
Yes,
right?
correct.
So in some ways, I feel like a consultant is better potentially utilized in two parts here. One, which may be to give feedback on a plan and help facilitate different information gathering aspects. But the second would be in like helping to check in, monitor, I mean, there's different ways about using them to make sure it's being implemented as well. So I think, I would wanna, I'm not in disagreement, but I
Yeah.
definitely want us to think
No.
a little bit more strategically before I sign off on a chunk of change
Of
like
course,
that.
yeah. I want to put a number, not to exceed that, so,
Yeah.
but however,
But the good ones are worth a lot of money.
course, yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just saying, like the Boston Consultant Group, they walk
Sure.
in the room, and that's $15,000 right there.
I agree.
So, so it's definitely, I think the board,
Sure.
since this is new for the board,
Yep.
that we should take a little time to look at some other schools' strategic plans, understand what we're getting into. I don't know, what do you guys think?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Instead of spending money, on something that we
Sure.
don't really know what we want.
That's right, so that's why I think we should step back a little.
Sure.
And potentially have, and I'm loath to do this, and I can't believe it's gonna come out of my mouth, but, like an offsite, a day where we're evaluating this. Certainly if we wanted to bring in a facilitator, but I do feel it needs to be, we have to be a little bit more on our game in order to sign
Sure.
off on something.
Here's what I've done in 2 districts when I did the strategic planning. Realistically, what happened was the consultancy begins with reviewing what they call external influences or scanning, and then they begin with what they do internal scanning of what the practices are. So what we have to do is, as in the document it says, we will try to do it ourselves. We don't want to charge on certain tasks. Well, we have to provide independent body the external documents, internal document practices, and then what they do is they begin series of feedbacks, interviews, identify task holders, and then they begin the process, and then there will be a 1 full day, let's say Saturday or Sunday or weekend, where all the folks that are part of that strategic planning with the steering committee come together. The facilitator goes around and tries to get sort of goals and objectives. So I think what I would do is I would provide some samples for other districts
Yeah.
on September 20th, and then we take it from there.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we can at least look at them and
Yeah.
see what they have.
Yeah,
Okay.
and also about some of the implementation challenges and thinking about like,
Sure.
because I also think if we sat down and we were like, what were the actual achievable goals?
Yep.
And how would we want, because we just have a lot we have, the district has a lot of responsibility and not a lot of extra people. So, I just want us to be kind of cautious about adding on something and just making sure whatever we are strategic about, whether or not it's like we want to increase testing by 2 points, right, in X area, that's also pretty substantive. You get what I'm saying?
So I will provide additional samples of other districts' strategic planning, what it looks like, or, through information to you guys, and then continue the conversation on September 20th, and then develop the RFP language perhaps more,
Right.
and then get feedback, and then take it from there.
The other thing is, in your next one, which we haven't moved to, about the Harvard University Graduate School of Education, which I've done some programs with them as well. I actually feel for our board, we would really benefit from the woman who's the head of it, for superintendents, Joanne, I forget her name, but she's like she was the head of, I don't know if it was Peabody, but a couple big places in Massachusetts. Anyway, I think it would be interesting and beneficial for our board if we did some case studies of similar type districts in Maine and in Massachusetts, potentially in New Hampshire, similar challenges, and look at strategies that they used and like what worked and what didn't work. Because part of our learning curve for the board here is also understanding, like when we're going to be supporting different initiatives, right? What have past case studies shown around similar types of districts, right? Having to do with the money that we have, having to do with the demographic makeup. I do think that the board would benefit a lot from that. They're not difficult, and, you know, somebody who has led people through kind of going through case studies and thinking about them strategically, and the different kind of alliances and, programmatic themes that go on would be helpful to us. I just want to put it out there, we don't need to make an action on that, but that is something that I think would benefit, yeah.
And I totally agree, I appreciate that, because the involvement with the Teaching for Understanding, which is a Project Zero, as you know, with the Harvard, it's an involvement where, if, and I will provide more information to you to see how it works. Really, it is a faculty and a facilitator that's identified, and then each school will have the clusters of 4 or 5 teachers that will meet face-to-face and take the course online, and really go back into the whole concept of teaching, review all the concept of even, you know, general assessment. And there's a facilitator, and conversation begins all the way through. So what I would do is send you some more information, what the TH Understanding is, how it's going to work. By then, I'm going to get more information from Harvard in terms of the cost expectation. So I'm hoping by September 20th to give you more detail on that.
Great.
Could you just
Let's-
tell me about, sorry, Kara, are you done? I can't even see you down there.
That's
I don't.
It's okay,
What's
just
Katie?
imagine
Yes,
me.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just curious, are these programs, do they offer graduate level credits for the teachers to take?
I'm going to have him answer your question, but let's get back to the B before we
Okay.
move on to the
All right.
next one,
Okay, sure.
please. Thank
No
you.
problem.
All right, so we will have that. So basically, then now what I'm looking for is a motion to move forward with developing the RFP for strategic planning consultancy.
I think we want a motion to table it to September 20th.
Right,
Okay,
Sounds good.
So I'll make a motion to table that to September 20th.
and I'll second that.
okay, so Tim made the motion and Ron seconded it. So we have a motion to table item B, which is to seek bids for the strategic planning consultancy until September 20th, our September 20th meeting. Any further discussion?
Well, and then if we could get some examples of.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
that
I will
would be great.
provide you that, yes.
Yes.
And, yeah, great.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor? 4, 5, 6, 11? 0, 0. Okay, now we'll move on to just an informational
Yep.
from Dr. Naaman on the
The-
Teaching for Understanding program.
When each participant completes their program, which usually is like 13 weeks or something like that, they will receive the CEU, the official credit.
But no college credit.
If they wish to receive college credit for the graduate, then I have to pay additional 150, whatever it is, and they can get the college credit.
Okay.
So not only to get the official credit for the certification, but I can also get the college credit. What happened was another university that's accredited certified it, so I just basically had to pay them to give each teacher a credit.
I was just thinking for certification that it would be beneficial.
Yes.
I think you would get more teachers on board if they can use it
Yes.
towards certification.
Yep, I could do both of them.
Okay, yeah, it's very hard. I'm trying to
Yeah,
look at you when
I
I'm
can see you
talking.
though, I can see you right from the,
Yeah,
here.
I need to
I
do
think
more of
I
a,
wanted to do a U-shaped table, man, next
yeah,
time.
we
I
need
can
to
see
do a
each
little
other.
bit better so we can see each other.
That way you can spitball Ron and Tim.
That's right.
Actually, I'd like to have risers where the good people are
That's
on the
even-
top.
Yeah, that's even better, yeah.
Okay, so,
So we're gonna have rises next
do
year.
you, so do you, are we good as far as, any more information on that?
Yep, I definitely
So-
provide you more.
Okay, so you'll get more information on that. So next item is a vote to authorize the superintendent to seek bids in accordance with the M.S.A.D 49 policies in regards to the attached special education district regional programming proposal. So before we get any motion or do anything here, if everybody will take a look at their paperwork, we're going to have Dr. Naaman discuss this, and we also have our special ed director, Corey's here to answer questions, and some of us were over at the building next to the superintendent's office and walked through that building, because that's the building that is under discussion here. So, Dr. Neiman.
Yeah, the general idea really was, for me, as a new person coming in, asking a question, what is that building, the next to me? So-called storage, cold storage, which I didn't know why it's called cold storage. I thought maybe you guys storing meat in there or something. But then I realized that's because probably it was cold, you know?
At
So
least some
once
of the
I
year.
got into the building, then I realized the potential. I wanted to have someone that knows what he's talking about to give me some idea, you know? And since we are spending money for in-district, I'd like Corey to detail, talk more, but my general idea was, what are we spending for special education, perhaps for in-district and out-of-district? And do we have adequate programming and staffing that we can do that on site? And do we have a site that we can do that? So the question was the building across. The next thing was, how much are we spending in our budget right now? If you didn't have that building, how much are we spending right now as a cost to deliver those services, whether it's out district or whether it's in district on some of those students? So we identified 5 in this and 5 outside. The question was how much, and then the idea was how much does it cost to really get the site going, and compare that to the price, because you're paying that this year. That's how much you're paying by end of year. So the idea is, even if it costs, let's say 300,000, you still have the difference of it. But in addition to that, we have an opportunity as a regional center to invite others from Skowhegan and others to send their children to us to deliver same services. So there is a potential there as a regional center. And it's also next year, you won't have the same budget line because we're delivering it inside. And then we take a look at the entire operation, how we can do it more effectively inside, and how much potentially we can go out to the region and say we can do the job better, you know, in regard to having children to go to hospital. So I'll let Corey, who did the work, and I appreciate that, to speak about that.
Corey, now, this, to me, reminds me of what we spoke about several years ago. And actually, we even did some funding, didn't we, a little bit
Yeah,
toward?
so it's exactly the same idea in terms of, you know, we had an item, the inside district, we didn't have a continuum of services for students. So we created the REACH program. It's the small building behind the primary. And, you know, as it functions, you know, over the course of the 3.5 years, we have saved that money instead of sending students out. We started the first year with 8 kids. Some kids moved on back to our own schools. Some kids have stayed, some kids have moved out. Over the course of the years, the problem that we have is the spread. Kindergarten, first, second grade, then we've got high school kids, and so one of the things that we were looking at is if we had a way to separate the programs out, because right now we have 4 high school and junior high kids out. So if we had a place where we could put them separately, have access to the program in here, you know, at the Lawrence campus, then we could increase our elementary school student space as well. So essentially the funding model is the same. What you'll see for numbers is the 377 is the bare minimum of what it would cost to keep those kids out this year. And so and you'll notice if you looked in the last 3 years, the number is higher, but I budgeted based on the lowest possible number. So every single day a student is charged a day rate plus transportation, and then they're charged the main care rate. So we only pay a third of main care, but they have, you know, typical costs are $50 an hour for a BHP times 36 hours, $100 an hour for clinicians, sometimes it's 1 hour, sometimes it's 2. But if that kid needs 2 BHPs, it's $100 an hour. So we'll pay a third of that, and that happens incrementally every day that they're out of district. So we'll pay, I think Central Maine Learning Center maybe $210, Goodwill Hinckley is $275, Cornville is $260. So everyone has a little bit of a different cost, but the 377 is on the low end. So at the very minimum, that's what we would expect it to cost this year for those kids. Now in the last 3 years, the average has been closer to $500,000. And so, you know, there's potential to save more depending on the needs of those kids, but the bottom line is we're on the hook for $377 this year. So we were looking at what ways could we spend that money one time for us and then not have to do it again. And so, you know, we looked at this property. If we did it on the low end at 250, you know, or the high end at 300, we're still, you know, in the green in terms of costs.
So if you did something like this would include, you know, hiring the appropriate clinicians to be here with us.
So I'm glad you asked that, but right now what we use is we use a contracted service provider to do
Sure, yeah.
those things. We use Connections for Kids, and they provide the BHPs and the clinicians. Once we have more capacity for those students, it would make sense for us to begin to do that work ourselves. And then instead of us paying a seat on the in-district stuff, we would then really essentially collect 60% or 66% of what it costs for those services. So that would really pay for itself. The difficult part is you have to have enough to make it worthwhile. And with one small building and 5 kids, it doesn't make, you can't afford a clinician because that clinician's not doing enough work.
Right.
So then what are the savings? I guess, because we'd have to contract with them anyway, so we're saving transportation.
We don't pay for that contract. It doesn't cost us anything to have CFK do that in district. So
Okay.
those are school-based services, not out of district, so we don't actually pay.
And isn't some of them, obviously there's FERPA issues here, like about like what we can talk about, like, but.
Right, we can't talk about specifics.
People,
Right,
yeah.
exactly, so, but my point there is, can't we, I thought some needed residential.
Not, so far, we don't have any residential kids, but when a kid goes residential, we don't pay for that. That becomes, they go out through an ITP process, and it's done through the state. They typically end up being
So,
state agency
just help me
clients.
with my simple cat brain here, like for the finance portion. If we don't have to pay for the staff,
We pay for the staff. We don't pay for the Connections for Kids, so the BHPs and the clinicians, those are done.
because I'm looking at the financial breakdown. So, the 42,636, which is the day rate, what is that consistent of?
The
Like,
day
we're
rate.
getting charged, right. What
Right,
is-
so it's the day rate, transportation, which right now there's 5 kids going
Yeah.
out.
So the transportation, I totally get, like, why that goes away, right, because they're coming here. But the day rate, I don't understand why that gets canceled.
Because we don't pay it. So right now, every out-of-district placement, every student at out-of-district placement has what they call a day rate, and we pay that per student, per day, at every placement. It's just
Okay.
and it's absent of the main care portion. It's
Okay, so it has nothing to do with the services they receive, it's just
No.
basically like, it's like rent. Yes.
Right, and it's not for the kids that are here.
It's not for our kids.
Right, it's not for our kids, it's
only
for-
if we send them out.
Right.
No, that's what I'm
Right.
saying, so basically it's like we're like paying like a reservation fee
Yeah.
for showing up, okay.
Overhead.
So I get that, so then tell me about the seed one, what's,
So for a kiddo who goes out, like I said, so it starts with, 36 hours times 50, there's $1,800. $200 more for clinical oversight, so now we're at the $2,000, and then we add the transportation, and we will pay per day a third of that. Since we pay for transportation, we're already paying 100% of that, but the clinician and the BHP will pay a third of that, and that's what that seed money is.
okay.
Now, when I first got here years ago, they weren't actually charging us. That's when the whole main care thing,
Right.
we're gonna suddenly come out and make everybody pay back this money. We were fortunate that didn't happen to us. Now, last year, the state came back with this idea that they were gonna start charging seed for in-district BHP services. That was placed on an indefinite hold for the last 2 years. We haven't. It went to committee. It never came out. They put it on hold. So as of yet, so this will be coming into our 4th year, utilizing in-district treatment services, clinicians, and BHPs for no cost. So for right now, we've had no cost for the last 4 years for that.
Right.
And it looks to continue because it's not on the docket for this year. So I'm not sure if they'd ever.
So if you have to, like, create, how much insurance is this, like, extra insurance is this gonna cost us? How much is it gonna cost to make a building that probably has to, like, have all the special, like, bells and whistles, right, in it, that's not here? Like, I don't see that cost here, so,
So basically, in that estimate, which is, according to the contractor that looked at the program, what he looked at what we currently had for our REACH program in terms of expectations for space. So like if you've been to our REACH program, we have single rooms, we have double rooms, and we have a triple.
Yeah.
And so it's set up so that, you know, depending on the
How much
level
per
of,
square foot to run the room though, do you know?
to build is 200 a square foot to build, but to renovate is, I think he said it was around 65. So it was a lot less money to renovate, which is why we looked at that versus like demolition, bringing in something new. It just was more cost effective. And since you know, we could do it for less than what it would cost to have the kids out, it makes sense that we can split the programs and provide a better service.
And so just bottom line for us, bottom line, you and Dr. Naaman are both all in.
Yes.
If you're all in, because I remember back a while ago, the board was all set. We were
Right.
ready to go with this thing.
Well, we did it on a small scale at
Right.
each,
Right.
but then really the needs of the district has, you know, we've had over the course of the 3 years that we've had the program running, we've had districts as far as North Anson, all the way to 18, all trying to get kids in here. And we've looked at that each and every time, but it's just based on, like, okay, well, right now, we've got 3 high school age kids there, right? But that means that limits how many elementary age kids I can
Right.
have in there. So, you know, it's really about fit. You know, the first year, we had 8 kids in there, and it was crazy. There was a kid in every space, and it worked because we had the right age span, but it was impossible. When one kid went off, we had, you know, it was just it was an assembly line of difficulty. But when you have more space, we'll have more flexibility. So then we could take a kid from outside, and it would pay for.
So we would be the hub. We'd be a hub for area communities to, you know,
Regional
get
service.
our resources, to use our resources,
If we have
pay us
space.
to use our resources.
If we have space.
Yeah, if we have the space.
So
I don't know, I don't see a
guess-
problem.
I guess it sounds really good. Like, I agree, it sounds really good. But I guess what there's a day rate, and there's a reason they charge that much money to have you come to their school. I guess I would kind of like to know what the day rate would be to have, like, what would our day rate be for our students, you know? They have to pay for insurance, they have to pay for, teachers, they have to pay for, you know, there's certain reasons this is why they charge that money.
Right, and that reason is what they're doing is spreading out the cost of essentially an entire school district, right? So
Right.
we already have that already
Right.
exists, so that we don't have that overhead. Like when we operated REACH, it's on, I think on average, we looked at it as roughly $20,000 a year for lights and heat and those sort of things.
Right.
And that's what it was the year we moved in. I don't think it's really changed much.
Right.
But,
But
you know,
could you
those
tell me like
costs
what it costs per kid per year?
to have a kid there.
Yeah, that's what I just wanna compare apples to apples, you
And
know
I
what
don't
I
know,
mean?
and I don't know how we would cost out our own kids, so it would be really no different than a regular student, cause we're doing it in district. Obviously, we can't charge them because they're in a special
Oh,
building.
no, I don't, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I would imagine that a student who attends REACH and has an individual classroom would cost differently than a student who's in first grade with a group of 16, you know, with
Right.
one teacher. So that's what I'm trying to,
Right, and I don't know how we would come up with that number. But you're right, there's a higher cost to teach
Right.
somebody with one kid versus 35 in a room.
Exactly, yeah.
Or whatever, but I don't know how we would come up with that number. But I know the reason they charge the day rate, say at CMLC, there's 5 buildings, you know, 60
sure,
acres.
of course.
They have
And I
overhead,
mean,
yeah.
I
They've
don't-
got lots of overhead,
Yeah.
and that number changes every year, by the way. It goes, every year in the fall, they get a new number. So, you know, I think the first year we were here, they used to do transportation. And so their number was higher because transportation was
Right.
built in. Now they don't do transportation, and so it's less. So everyone is like
So there isn't
basically.
a state formula though? There isn't a state formula?
Well, Danielle actually used to work at
I
one
used
of
to
these.
work at Central Maine Learning Center, so I just had a couple questions. Are we going to run this program like a day treatment program, like they do over there?
Yeah, we're gonna
Is
run
it
it
very similar?
very similar to the way we run REACH. So essentially what happens is every student at REACH has a one-to-one BHP. Those are all provided through CFK. At some point, like I said, it would make sense for us, once we get capacity, to start doing those things in-house, because then that's really where it becomes a moneymaker and not a saver. But, so, and then there's a clinician that oversees the BHPs, we collect all that data, write the treatment plans. And then we have a teacher, which up till this school year has still been budgeted through a federal grant, so we haven't paid. The only thing we've paid for is for a Tech 3 and a Tech 2.
Okay, because one of my concerns is because of the different age levels, and where working at Central Maine Learning Center, they did at one point when I worked there, granted this was a while ago, we separated the high school age from the elementary school students. And so are we looking at sharing teachers or sharing a teacher, or are we looking at like two separate?
Two separate.
To
So
keep
we're
it
gonna
completely
we're gonna
separate?
we're gonna keep elementary school kids, primary age kids over at Reach right behind
Okay.
Fairfield Primary, and keep operating that, because there's no shortage of kids coming in that lack behavioral regulation or have a significantly higher need than usual. So we've had, kids coming into us, moving into district that, haven't had any sort of schooling or any services, and so there's a big need for that. But the problem is, right now, I've got an 8th grader and 2 9th graders, and I've got one that just moved into district who's a 9th grader that I don't have a space for. And the other kids were already there, so they kind of grandfathered because they aged out of that space, but I can't add another one in because that's gonna limit what I can do for the kids coming into school.
So bottom line, we want to convert the old, we want to see if we can convert the old building for the high school campus, junior high campus, keep what we already have, and that will allow us to have more
No,
kids.
I think this is
Yeah.
an excellent
I think
idea
it's-
for our district. I
Yep.
think it's wonderful, because where I used to be the office, essentially a special ed, secretary there, I saw the money. So I completely understand, I'm sorry I didn't get to go over to the building.
No, that's fine,
okay.
it's,
I would like to go see it eventually.
Yeah.
So, no,
What is
my
it?
only other
Go ahead.
question, sorry, Sean.
It's all right.
Was dealing with, right now, we do not have to train the BHPs, if I'm correct, for MANT or anything like that.
No, the BHPs, which are provided through Connections for Kids, they have their own safety care trainers,
Okay.
they're all certified, they do all of the billing, we don't really have to do with any of that. The only thing that we keep track of is we keep the data, because we have Dr. Davis, he oversees our programming, so if I were to compare the programming in district versus what we have available out of district, I'd say ours is probably a 10 compared to maybe a 7 at the other ones.
Okay.
So we're really, one of the things that we wanted to do by doing this is if we're gonna get into this business, we're gonna provide what we say the kid needs, and so he's been doing that oversight for us since we started. But we don't have to train them. The only thing we've done is we have our own BCBA that oversees behavior plans. We track the data, and in fact, this year we went to a new data collection model that's through Google Docs, so that everybody can see the data, the teacher, the tech, the BHP, Dr. Davis, the BCBA, to identify, okay, we see a trend, and we don't have to wait, because we all can see it. And so that's one of the advantages of doing it here.
Yeah.
Plus, as you know, trying to take a kid from Central Maine Learning Center, I can think of one that just graduated last year. When we brought him back the very first year I got here, the ability for him to come back for a class, he missed 2 classes at CMLC to take 1 class here because of the timing and transition. So here, if he's here or a student's here and they have the ability to try out, we're going to take them to a music class, they're going to go with their BHP, it doesn't work out, we're right on campus.
Yeah.
Before, it just was
wasn't
impossible to
that.
do, and so the outcomes have been significantly better.
No, that's good.
The capacity for the new place, I didn't see it in here. Did you say 12? Could fit 12?
No, total in the
Right.
program total, so I could see 6 and 6,
Okay.
safely in
It-
both.
Yeah, and, go ahead. Yeah, and we're sending a 5 out right now. So
We actually have a kid in Margaret Murphy down in Lewiston, Auburn. We have a kid in Cornville. Those kids are not for this type of program. Those are really significant high needs that are specialized programs that we really can't do here. At some point, you know, I think we could get into that market, but it's hard to find staff that can do the work that's necessary for those kiddos. But right now at CMLC, I have a 7th grader, a 4th grader, a 7th grader. So I anticipate bringing the 4th grader back and the 7th grader, but he's ID, so I could keep him there, and I wouldn't put him in here with the 8th grade and the 9th grade kids. So everybody aside from probably 3 kids out would come back. That's the goal. I could possibly even bring one more, and I have space for that student. But if I didn't take that one back, I could certainly find one from 18 or one of the other school
That
districts.
was my other question. Do you know demand in other?
Oh, yeah. There has been at least half dozen, if not more, requests for our programming. This summer, we actually did programming as a kind of a test for someone for ESY from 18, and it worked well. You know, it's certainly not out of our range of abilities.
Sean?
Sure.
Yes, Terry?
Just playing devil advocate, this sounds all hunky-dory and everything, and I'm not opposed to what you're saying, but why haven't we done this if we had an initiative 3 years ago, or 4, 5, whatever years? Why did this not happen?
Well, we did it 3 years ago, and we've been doing it since then.
On the small scale.
On a
we
small
wanna build it.
scale, but the hard part is trying to build capacity. So, one, trying to build a program from the ground up has been, it's taken hundreds and hundreds of hours outside of school time to try and make sure that, you know, we've got the right program in, we're doing the right things for these kiddos, because you don't want to bring them back if you can't service their needs.
But that's why we give you the big bucks.
Yes, absolutely. So we've been doing that, and now we've reached the point where we can't. Our ability is now outgrowing what we have for space, and so that was where the conversation started. Like, we could service more of our own kids in district, and once we kind of exonerate that need, we can certainly provide that for other districts, and that's really where the conversation started with Dr.
So the vote, I think part of it's the way that the vote is worded.
Yep.
We can,
So it reads right now to authorize the superintendent to seek bids for what?
it would, to redo the building.
Okay, so I would like to amend what.
Oh,
the
yeah,
language
we can
says.
write whatever motion
Sure,
we.
I think you can
Yeah,
put in the RFP more.
Well, it doesn't say the building, so it's very general, so I
Yep.
have to be very specific
Right.
about what we're bidding about, like what we're saying. And then, I like to have a project plan before the board. I'd like to, like, what the bids are. I want a spreadsheet that's a little bit like more comprehensive. I'm not in disagreement, but I wanna know it's sustainable. I also wanna understand the liability aspects for us. And, you know, I certainly understand the need to provide services with children that, you know, so I guess with the with the savings we have, I also would flip to the other side and be like, we don't really have a very robust program here for the exceptionally bright. And, you know, or kids that are gonna be, you know, like have a lot of opportunity, right? And so the flip side of that is we can also bring kids to the district, right? If, like, I went and looked, compared us to some of the stats with Waterville, and, you know, we're doing pretty good. Yet, we're not getting a lot like, you know, people who I work with at Colby are not like, I should send my kid to Lawrence, because they're gonna go to Harvard, right? Like, there's this weird thing, so I just wanna kind of put that out there as thinking about, yes, this is great, and I really, like, part of me internally cringes that we say it's a money-making thing, because that just feels all morally wrong to me on so many levels, but, you know, but I also.
But Karen,
like,
it's a
want us
money
to-
savings thing. I think it's
It is.
initially
It's
proposed.
a saving, that's right, but we've said, no, I get it. I understand there's opportunity here. I just like, there's part of me that likes a gentler language around that.
Can I just do a brief recap? I think the whole purpose is to take out-of-district students, our students that we're paying money to place out of district. I don't know where your
Get 'em back.
liability concerns come in, because we already have a REACH program.
Yeah.
We've already established that over 3 or 4 years. Am I wrong, or?
No, my concern with the liability is just because I've worked in a program, with,
Well, this is my field of work, liability, that's what I do, baby.
okay.
Okay, so I wanna know what your
He's an insurance
concerns are
guy.
on liability. We already have special ed.
That was pretty
We already
inappropriate.
have this,
You're looking at potentially destructive children,
and,
okay?
and
so
we're
that's where
but we're transporting these children already. Our liability already exists with these children. So if it was a new liability, it's not. We have that liability. Whether it's internal or on a bus, transportation, it's the same. So I don't see where the risk is any different for us, and I will gladly look it up to see if there are some potential risks. But what I'm seeing right now is we're paying X amount of dollars for out-of-district treatment, that we now have the ability to bring them back and save money, not only this year, but we can wipe out this $400,000 or $500,000 line item every year. Corey gave us a bare bones minimum, $377. We're looking at possible $250,000, $300,000
500 over
renovation.
the last couple of years.
So initially, first year, you're looking at $70,000 savings minimum. And if we can't, if we have the capacity to grow outside, or we don't have the need where we can bring it in, then yeah, there may be a money-making. But currently in this proposal, it's about bringing those dollars back into our district, servicing our kids in-house, our needs in-house. It's a no-brainer to me.
Well,
Very
although we
minimal
won't recoup
savings
it though,
this year.
Tim, because the math works like this, we gotta lay out capital, they gotta do it, and then the kids have to finish out and then come back, so we won't
No.
actually see a
Nope.
cost savings, right?
Well,
Actually, no.
The
No.
capital's already budgeted.
No, hold on a second. No, Cara, I think what you're talking about is, if we can get a move on this,
Yeah, yeah,
okay?
right.
And get the RFPs and do it on a expedited,
Expedite.
okay, level, then what we can do is, a lot of times to do the refit on this, it can be done in a shorter period of time, and we could get these kids back in district within 3 or 4 months if we could do it, which would save us
So we don't
half a
sign an
year.
annual contract, we can move them at any time.
We can move them in any time.
Great, okay.
So it would save us money.
So I think that's part of what I'd like to see though, which is like X number of outlay, when they come back, when that is actually
And that
paid
would all
off,
depend
right?
on when they could come back. So of course,
Yeah.
part of the bid process would be, you know, how long can you take to complete this? Because if it exceeds a certain amount of time, you're right, there's a tipping point where.
Right.
I'm just doing the math, I'm just cat brain doing the math.
Yep,
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
No, and that's what, and I mean, I think that's what I was trying to get at, is it just, it's very hard for me to wrap, and you say cat brain, I say farmer, is that, you know, it's very hard for me to wrap my head around that you get something for nothing. You know, we can't, for
It's,
me,
it's just spending the money in a different way.
It's a one-time spend. I wanna
but
say-
it's a
I-
one-time spend to
it's
pay off the
one-time spend.
building, but it's not a, you know, it's always gonna be spending. I mean, the kids will always need
But
stuff.
so every year, if those kids are out,
Right.
that money gets spent every year. It could be different every year, like the minimum every year. If those same 5 kids were out,
Right.
that would be the minimum every year unless the day rate changes or
Right.
the main care rate changes. That's the minimum for those 5 kids. So
Exactly.
if next year those 5 kids aren't out, you know, whatever it costs this year, whatever we end up with, whether we get it done in 3 months or 6 months and half is spent, that we spend 300,000 and we still spent half a year to keep them out, even if that was a wash, the following year, unless there are other kids that went out because we were outside of our space lot or whatever, that cost wouldn't be there next year. That's
What I'm saying, there will be some cost. I mean, we're not just gonna have them come back here.
Well, they'd
and
be
then-
regular students. I mean, they would be our cost as if they were right here
But
already.
they won't be. They won't be, because they're not gonna be in a classroom of 16. They're
No,
gonna be.
no. They're still gonna come.
They're gonna cost more than.
It won't cost us the 42K.
No, and
Right.
that's what I wanted to see, is if we're putting out $300,000 for the building, then the upkeep of the building, you can't just pay once for a building. You know, the upkeep, the maintenance,
That's
all
what I
that
like.
stuff. adds
spreadsheet for a
up,
5-year.
and then that's
We-
what I'm trying to say.
It's kind of like what we do with the building now. The building's just sitting there now.
I'm
Right.
fine.
We still have to pay for it, and we still have to pay insurance on it. and
I'm
we
fine
still-
don't
going
pay
out
someone
for
to
a bid.
Yeah, we're
I'm
gonna-
fine taking it out for a bid.
But we have
I
those people
definitely
already,
wanna
so
have,
Yeah.
like,
Or the water,
Okay.
cold storage, they don't even
We
turn
will.
on the water or
Okay,
electricity.
No, but that's all there.
so what I'm thinking for a motion, and tell me if you, is a motion to authorize the superintendent to seek bids for the rebuild of the cold storage building to meet the needs of the special education department.
So move.
perfect.
Oh.
Second.
All right, moved by Ron, seconded by Kara, and,
That's what I meant to say.
okay.
Yeah, these all come
Did you get that, Janine, or, okay, thank you. All right, so, any further discussion on that?
And then also,
Yes,
yeah, well, let's have a vote. Then also as a follow-up, definitely want to have like a more comprehensive fiscal.
yeah,
Yes, yes.
okay,
Absolutely.
all right. So, any other discussion before we go to a vote?
So we're just looking to get
A bid.
We're doing bids,
See what we
right?
can do
Yes,
with the building.
that's
For a
the-
building.
Right.
We may not even be able to
That sounds fair.
fix that building. Believe me, that building's junky.
Oh, not as bad as you think. We did take, okay, so anyway, all those in favor of the
Yeah.
motion?
The roof's all wrong.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11? Oh, Terry, did you vote?
I'm abstaining.
Okay, so 10, 1 abstain, and so 10, 1, 0.
You guys are making me work tonight.
I know.
That's all right. It's nice though. I like,
I don't wanna work.
oh,
I abstain
Terry
because I,
abstained, right, 10-0-1, sorry.
can I say, I abstain because I want to
It was
see
my first meeting. I was trying to make it really simple, but I guess I
I
did.
know, I was like, one thing.
That's a short.
That's all right.
It was just to get it.
I like
get
the
a
fact
bid
that
for it,
we
whatever.
had a
I
healthy
just wanna see
discussion
the
so that people
details
are
first.
talking about it.
That's
Okay,
how we always
Just
do
wait
it.
for the
From
next
now
I
on.
don't think,
I know, I'm like,
yeah, I know.
bring it on.
We're putting the cart before the horse.
okay, so the next item on the agenda, the vote to authorize the superintendent to sign the attached addendum as presented in attachment A. In addition to space, M.S.A.D 49 agrees to provide additional financial support to Kennebec Valley Community Action Program for the purpose of supporting an integrated preschool enhanced with Head Start services for all children and families. The amount of funding committed on an annual public school year basis for Clinton covers KV-CAP program costs for a total of $125,596. Details of the cost are outlined in attachment A. So, before we get too far into this, I found out over the course of the last month that there is no current pre-K program in Clinton, and this is where this came about, and we had waiting lists at Fairfield Primary because of this, and we did have a program in Clinton a year ago, so this is where we can go from there. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, when I discovered that before I started, I think the belief I have that in order for any school district to increase the graduation rate and reduce your dropout, you don't start in middle school, high school, you start at the pre-K. And in order for you to have a good school system in a community, you need to have a universal pre-K. That's just my own personal belief system. So when I came into this, I see you have a great programs already existing. The question I asked myself, why not there? And then the next question was, how do we pay for it? So when I looked at a budget, I started looking at deep in the budget and talking to everyone, and I appreciate Tara, Roberta, and everyone else. And we had a meeting, Kathy and Lori. For me, the conversation I can tell you is that in the budget, there are a set of priorities that could be shifted into making this money. The money that's there in the budget, there are fundings that are used for what I consider the priority is not to support pre-K program. So I looked at it and I added up, and it came to support that. I have the fundings that I can clearly show where I was going to get it. But I can just tell you that if I'm looking at the budget, there are items that once I share with Shelley that are there that can be shifted to support what's really important. What's important, and I love working with the organization, is that not only they deliver education support for our kids, a pre-K, it's a comprehensive program for the kids. So it's the kids and the entire family services. So I see this as a need, and I was just trying to figure out really hard, does this mean it's gonna be impact more money? Do I have to come up with more money from outside? And the answer to the question is no, so far. And I can tell you more detail, but I can tell you the existing budget can support it. With the funding shifting from what I consider not a priority into what's important. And I shared that with you on this. But what it's gonna do to our community, we have parents that are on the waiting list at the Fairfield Elementary. We have parents that are looking for services at Clinton. So it gives us an opportunity to have universal services. But, I have here Lori and Kathy, if you guys want to join, as well as the executive director. You guys want to add something to this, Kathy and Lori, to it? 'Cause-
I was going to say too, that every student that we bring in for early learning, we're also bringing in state subsidy for. That offsets the cost that you're seeing here before you.
Right.
And of course, we know as educators, we have until about third grade, right, ladies over there, to have them love learning, be proficient in reading and math. And, our students come in under the widely held expectations because of some of the existing poverty needs that we see in the local area. Certainly, my peers here from KV CAP have some of the statistics that they'll share with you. And so I think it is really very much a win-win. And again, for more students brought in, we're bringing in more subsidy, which will offset this cost.
To build the program and to have the families and the support that we had there for a few years, and then to have it gone, has been
But what happened to that?
devastating.
Why did it go
families.
away? Why did it go away?
There's different reasons for that, but it went away.
See,
So,
unfortunately, as a
I-
board member, I think that'd be something that would have been nice to know.
Yeah, we didn't know about it. I had no idea until
I
I was
had no
told.
idea that you didn't know.
The other
Yeah.
thing is
I
that,
had no idea, you didn't know that you did
So-
that.
the other thing is, again, just like, I think this is a great idea and I'd be fully behind it, but I can't sign off on it in good conscience without having a much more robust analysis of the budget, what that looks like, where it's coming from, and then when you talk about subsidies, I have no idea what that looks like either. It's 125K, we're not flush with cash here, that's not like coming out of our elbows. You know what I'm really thinking. And, and so I just want a little more substantive, like I need to see that to sign off and to feel like I can be like, yep, I get where that's coming from. And we've heard, that, yep, we can understand like that's gonna work here and this is why we don't need it. So I need a more fiscal, like to be able to sign off on that. So
Chair, perhaps I'm sorry, excuse me, Shelley. Perhaps we could speak a little bit to some of the funding.
I was just gonna ask you that.
Yeah.
Sure, so let me stand up, because I don't know many of you, haven't met most of you. My name is Catherine Culver. I am the Director of Child and Family Services at Kennebec Valley Community Action Program in Educare Central Maine. And I have been around for a long time, 20 years, working with this school district in your free preschool services, and see amazing outcomes for your children and families. And just to give you an example, we know that families need to have a household income of at least 200% of federal poverty guidelines to meet very basic needs. And over half of your families, here and in Clinton, and it's higher in Clinton, don't meet that threshold. What that allows us to do is that we also put in Head Start funds into these programs. We support teachers and the comprehensive services. So really, it's about braiding and blending funding so that we are efficient in how we do this. We have, like I say, some of the outcomes we see for children are amazing. Some children, some years, I should say, 70 to 80% of the children who enter, who are screened in the beginning, aren't at developmentally appropriate range. By the end of the year, that is less than 20% in various domains. So we know it works. We know it has long-term savings and long-term outcomes. And I just wanted to mention, we were talking about Harvard earlier. One of the best sites I have ever been on to really learn about the value of preschool services it's called the Heckman Equation. It's the Harvard Center for the Developing Child. I encourage anybody to go read. It's really some amazing data. And what we see in this district for outcomes is very much in line with what they say. So I just think the partnership is really efficient. Clinton families really need this type of comprehensive services. I wanted to mention one other thing, that we have a Pathways to Success for Families that we work on, and it's about helping them meet their goals towards self-sufficiency, education. So it's much more comprehensive than just the child services. It's really the whole thing.
I don't have a problem with the cost. I think I'm totally in line with like, yes, this is wonderful, we should do it. I just want to understand where the money's coming from in our own budget. Like, I just need to get a better idea of what we're shifting in the pots, especially in a first meeting where we haven't really kind of dove into that.
We haven't gone over any of it.
I have some similar questions that maybe they will all be answered at the same time. Is that I too, I love, kids are like my thing, and kids in poverty are really my thing, and that so I'm not doubting the work. I'm very pleased with the work you do. One of the things was I was told when I went to sign up my daughter for pre-K is that the students that were put on wait lists are the students with families over the income limit. So these are families who can afford to, or
Yeah.
but if
Nobody
you,
can afford it, no
Well,
matter
you
what.
know,
Tell that
but-
to a taxpayer who
Right.
pays
But-
taxes to that town.
I'm a taxpayer. I had to pay for my daughter to go to pre-K, to
I'm
go
just
to
telling
nursery
you,
school.
why is it any different than somebody who may not be a taxpayer in the town that's gonna receive those services?
No, it didn't say that. It's what I'm saying is that there's a financial threshold.
Right.
So the parents who are put on wait lists are over. Is that not true for Clinton?
Unfortunately, because we do not have
Yes.
universal kindergarten in all of our elementary schools, we have to rank order
Right.
our acceptance, because it's very often that the students with financial needs or that are low poverty, they sign up or apply later than perhaps.
Right. I was also told that. I applied
Excuse me,
way
Lori.
too early.
Yes.
Lori, can you tell me about, we don't have universal
We
kindergarten?
don't.
Where don't?
We don't have universal pre-K. We.
Oh,
sorry.
pre-K.
Oh,
thought you
pre-K,
said
I thought you
kindergarten.
said kindergarten.
Sorry,
Okay,
sorry, I meant to say.
I was, okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird.
Ron, where have you been? We got rid of kindergarten 2 weeks ago.
You never know.
So sorry.
That's all right.
The universal pre-K would solve that, because then anyone who came to our door would be accepted in our school. Right now, we have only so many slots, and this year, because our program was cut, and unbeknownst to all of you, we only have the slots available at Fairfield Primary. So it's natural that our taxpayers are going to be upset, concerned, ask the question
Right.
why they can't take part. We can only accept 64 to 67 students at Fairfield Primary currently, and in Fairfield Primary's kindergarten, just our kindergarten, I have 87 students today. So right there, not even counting Albion residents and Clinton residents, we're not serving the population with our pre-K
And
program.
that was my question: is that the kids who are not getting served, is the free and reduced lunch cutoff kind of still being used? That's my question. Are there kids who would be eligible for free and reduced hot lunch not being served currently?
I can answer that question.
Thank
By USDA law, pre-K, if it's funded by a Head Start program or associated with a Head Start program, they eat free, no matter what.
Right, but and it's really, I'm
It
just
benefits
asking. I'm
my
asking about
program,
poverty. Are there
actually.
kids who would be eligible and are in that socioeconomic range for free and reduced hot lunch, not receiving pre-K
There is no,
services?
I'm sorry, my name's Nicole, I'm the director for pre-K.
Yes.
There is no child with that eligibility that is applied for pre-K that is not receiving
So the kids who are on the wait list are kids whose family did not meet the free reduced hot lunch guidelines.
And so
So-
the Clinton kids have to go to Fairfield currently.
So just to go back to some of the budgetary stuff so that you are a little more aware. As far as I was aware, it was this, because we didn't know, I didn't realize it had been cut. It wasn't actually cut from the budget, I believe, that was put forward. But also, I think that, I know that Tara has been examining things, and I know that in the past, we've been able to shift between line items to still, to deal with issues that we've needed to. And my and I'm gonna ask Tara, you've examined the budget to know that there is a way for us with Dr. Naaman, I'm assuming, to examine to be able to cover this cost. It won't affect your budget is what I'm, where you handle the budget for us, is that?
Right, Dr. Naaman and I have discussed several different options.
So it is been looked at.
So yeah, I understand, right?
Right.
But then I'm like asking about how much it impacts the final bottom line, how much more wiggle room that leaves, like, it's just not enough detail for me. So, and I'm used to having
Right.
a fair amount, I'm not in disagreement, it's $125,000.
Right.
That's a lot to our district, so that isn't something where I'm just gonna be like, if we were talking about 10, fine, whatever. But what I wanna know is at the end, right, when we only have X number for operating costs, right, like, what is the cushion? So if, all of a sudden we're shifting money, if we need that, right, will we have it? That's all I'm really looking
Can I
at.
pick one line item?
Yeah.
Tara, do we have $700,000 budgeted for roofs this year? Is that a line item still?
I couldn't tell
We
you.
usually do.
Okay, so every year that I've examined the budget, we budget $700,000 as a line item for roofs. Why can't we shift $125,596 out of roofs into this program?
Dr. Naaman, you were gonna.
Yeah, Tara and I worked on, and Roberta and others, we have identified line items in which the fundings were, where there's an instruction, subscriptions that are no longer active, programmings that don't really impact many students, things that have just been repeated, paid for, things that I believe are much more priority to go back. So I added all those. Before I even put the vote, I wanted to know if I can. So my bottom line purpose was, can I do this with that kind of a shift of funding? So I identified 125 or more, and so the urgency I had after talking to them was the timeline they had, because they have to get the kids in order for me.
What are we talking about, Dr. Naaman, as far as a timeline? How
Yeah.
quickly, if we vote tonight on
Well,
this,
the letters have already gone out.
how quickly could we have kids in school in Clinton, in preschool?
I still have the space.
And the
So-
letters have gone out already to the parents.
Almost
Parents have already
immediately.
received letters that it's happening, right?
October 1st.
Pre-K started today in Fairfield.
Yeah.
What we did was we were told to tell parents in Clinton that potentially we would be able to bring the program back to Clinton, but everyone was going to start in Fairfield as we were working
And
through
I
this.
think that's hard in that we were asked to vote on something that parents have already been told is gonna happen.
No, we didn't. We didn't
No,
say.
we said there was a potential.
Because parents are coming to me and saying, oh, it's coming to Clinton, that's great.
Well, let's make it
Well,
happen then.
that's an interpretation,
Yeah,
people
but
interpret
that's
things.
There was a big need, so there was a conversation. To be honest with you, there's a sense of urgency. My bottom line, again, is start at September 1st, get access to the numbers, work with Tara and everyone else, Lori, Kathy, everyone that's really passionate, Roberta, identify lines that really are doable, or transfer, and be able to make it. So that's what I'm trying to say to you. And there's a sense of urgency after meeting with them.
Madam Chair, let's take this to a vote.
Okay, so I will be looking for a motion to authorize the superintendent to bring back the
Second.
pre-K program.
They don't
Let
want
me
you to read it.
finish. To bring back the pre-K program to the Clinton with access with KV Cap with a cost total of $125,596. Now, motion.
So moved.
Moved by Danielle, seconded by Tim. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Opposed? Abstain? Two. So 902.
Madam Chair, I'd like to annotate this vote. Now that we have a new superintendent, now that we're doing business a little bit differently, that perhaps we'll get the information prior, the information that Kara's requested, the information that
Yes.
Mr. Giroux requested prior to making the vote. But I understand here, we're in a pinch. and
Right.
This is we've had a lot of change lately.
Right.
So, but
I
let's
just
make
wanna
that
second
happen.
that, 'cause
Yes.
when I add up what we would have been asked to approve in this meeting, in my head,
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no freaking way that was gonna happen if I didn't have it and I couldn't have vetted it beforehand.
Yep.
So
Right.
I wanna say my abstinence was not that I didn't agree with it.
Yep.
It has
Yeah.
to do with my elected responsibility to be fiscally
I-
responsible.
Agreed.
Yeah, I can't vote to
I agree.
say
But-
I'm gonna cut something when I don't know what it is.
But remember that our legal responsibilities are first to the students, not to the voters, the students.
But I don't know
We're
what
a
students are
board.
being impacted now.
We're not no, we're
Definitely
not.
vote
It's
that.
the way we are.
Nobody's arguing with you.
You were
Okay.
arguing, I saw it in your eyes.
All right, let's move on, guys. But,
You legged on me.
and we will, talk some more about that. Okay. Next up is a vote to accept the superintendent's recommendation to revise the standing subcommittees as education program, finance and facilities, policy and planning as presented, and to make the first Thursday of each month, starting in October, to be dedicated to all standing subcommittees with the full school board meetings on the third Thursday of each month. So here's basically, basically what this is, as you, in your packet, you received the information on what those committees would be. Dr. Naaman has worked this way before, and what this does is actually, and he can go on and explain a little bit more, but what it would basically do is give more voice to some more of stakeholders versus on the committees, and to make committees, rather than changing meeting nights, and this way more people can make actual committee meetings and plan for them. So we know that right now that we meet two nights a month, and we stick to that 2 nights a month, but the first night would be for that standing committee, and you would take and be part of one committee, and they would meet all at the same time, but in different rooms, wherever we happen to be, in each committee. And it gives more opportunity for the stakeholders, where teachers can be there, administrators can be there, parents can be there, people can be there to take part if there's something specific coming before those committees. And it's dealt with on a monthly basis. Is
I'd
that
just like to remind you that parents and teachers and citizens and the President of the United States and anybody else that ever wanted to attend a subcommittee meeting could have attended a subcommittee meeting. They were all advertised, all on the internet. And so, you know, the having one person per committee, when does that work? Michelle? You know, you're on every subcommittee that I'm on.
I've been on every.
And so you know how many people would be there if the 5, 6, 7 people that continue to show up on these subcommittees would be there. No, I'm just making the point.
Why are you arguing?
You know, because we're changing the way we
Well,
do
it's
business here.
it's
You're gonna be
about-
on one subcommittee, that's gonna be enough? No.
Wait, so can you just
Sure.
go through, because I'm reading this again, so
Sure,
we're saying we're gonna meet when?
Sure, the intent is to have a subcommittee that education programs, which deals with the special education, technology curriculum. You have a policy planning that deals with the issues of policy planning. You have a finance and facilities that deals with the issues, as you know, finance facilities. And the intent is to have, of course, I will bring you the representation, to ensure there's a fair representation in that. So you have a dedicated number for the committee members, parents, perhaps the students, and a board member. And the board each month reports to the committee the actions they discuss and the actions that they recommend. The full committee can't recommend that they like you to go back again for the discussion, because there's some more comments, is not a common feedback. What it has done historically, in my experience, is that it kind of gave an expanded opportunity for people to come discuss. It gave more time to discuss on a particular issue. Let's see, if you have a transportation conversation, they go to part of a finance and facility subcommittee. There's a public meeting with the fair representation, and there's a full discussion every month with reporting back to the board. So the intention is really fair representation, more detailed discussion on every topic through the board. So the board reports that back.
So does it override our current board meeting? I like the organization of it, I'm just trying to understand, because it says
So-
that you meet the first Thursday of each month, so is that before the
Yes,
board meeting?
not in place of a board meeting. So everybody, so we would have, so listen, so what we would have is you would, as a board member, that would be your meeting for that month. That's why you would have two. So you would be required, so like 4 people per, 3 or 4 people
I'm an American, I
per
like
subcommittee.
convenience. You've already answered my question.
Listen, but so, just to clarify this, so we're talking about having subcommittees meet, and then that subcommittee would report to the committee.
No.
To the
This is the
board.
committee, to the board.
Well, it
So-
wouldn't be a subcommittee then, it'd be a
Right,
committee,
it's the-
okay?
These committees would report to the whoever the chair is of the committee, like we've always done, would report to the board.
And so logistically, has anybody sat down and put some names and slots and figured out how that's gonna even work?
Well, I want everybody to actually decide, but we may have to shift people around, but 3 people, we need 3, we would have only 3 committees, and then subcommittees would, different
Wait,
ad hoc committees.
let's talk
Okay.
about committees or subcommittees.
Okay, so in addition to these 3, okay, there
Okay.
would still be a negotiations, because that's
The ad
totally
hoc.
separate of this, as
Yeah.
an ad hoc. And obviously, the vocational is a separate item,
thing, yeah.
okay?
The
So,
dropout.
huh?
Dropout.
Dropout actually, does
an
that
ad
come
hoc,
under
yeah.
educational
Yeah.
programs?
Okay.
Dropout comes under educational programs. So that way, and what it would be is a requirement for board meetings, that is your board meeting. So the first meeting of the month, that is your board meeting. So you're still required as a board member to be there, but you would be dealing with the committee work instead of an actual full board
So
meeting.
let's say if you want to implement, let's say
That's why.
hypothetical virtual high school. So you as a board, someone brings you forward and say virtual high school. What happens is that we take that item to educational program subcommittee meetings. Now, you have a fair representation, that's what we're gonna ensure. The subcommittee with the board members have a full discussion, public, with the staff that are gonna represent, have a full discussion on the topic. At the full committee meetings, the chair of education program reports out that we like to vote to approve implement virtual high school. The board has a discussion and say, you know what, we still have a lot of questions. Then the board sends that back to the subcommittee until it comes back to you, and the chair reports, we have a vote, and that vote has a fair representation, full discussion, public presentation, and is more sort of transparent to the full committee. They give opportunity to anyone.
Just a terminology, it's just a terminology
I
difference.
don't think so.
Just-
I-
it's
I-
just
it
a
doesn't
ter- it's
se-
just-
It doesn't seem like a
Yeah,
terminology
no,
issue.
what I'm saying is, he's calling this as a committee versus
Yes,
a
I get
board
it.
meeting.
It's a hierarchy.
Okay, this is the board, and these are committees, not subcommittees, really, that he's
Sorry,
looking
I'm
at.
just confusing on that.
Okay, so I would
You're
like
doing
to
a
make,
good
I'd like
job.
to make a motion that we table this until the policy committee can meet and look
Hey.
at it.
I'm done.
Not yet, you know, nobody else has been elected, so you're it.
I'm out.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, okay, so, yeah, because we don't have to do anything till the 1st of October anyway, so we can do it, so let's schedule a meeting, right off,
I can report, I think, I'd like to do more expansion and membership, like who's in it, to answer all the questions, and if you want, move it to September 20th, I have better information to give you.
I'll do the education committee. Boom. I want to be a
Well,
winner
I
somehow
just,
here.
I just
feel
wanna
like
figure out how it's gonna work logistically.
Okay.
Because I can tell you, they're, in every committee that I'm on, the same people are almost every
well,
committee.
and that's, right, and that won't be able to happen this time, so, I
Okay,
know.
so we'll not have that.
You
see
don't
what
have
I'm
that
saying?
option?
You don't?
no, you wouldn't have that option, you'd be on one of the committees.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to take part in one of it, something because of something's going on, you can take part in that one.
No.
Well, and some like will go together, because I was thinking, when we were on the dropout committee once, we were
Yeah.
looking at the attendance policy, so
Yeah.
we would have to like
That's right.
shift over to the policy
Right,
committee
so
for a
we can-
little bit.
We can discuss it, I mean, we can certainly
I vote
take
no.
that into
We
a
need to have a policy committee and
Okay.
then decide what we
Let's-
would like to have as a board.
Okay.
I vote
Okay.
no.
So we'll schedule something within the next
You're
week
back
or
in
two to
charge.
do that, Ron?
Okay,
Something in the
Sounds
next week or so?
'Kay,
Okay, so
sure.
let's do that.
You're the man.
So I'll bring this to the policy committee in more
So
detail.
we're
Yeah.
gonna, we're gonna, we're gonna vote to.
We're gonna table this right now
Make
until,
an amendment, or we're just gonna be.
no, we're just gonna table this issue right now until the September 20th meeting, we'll bring it
And I'm
back.
gonna take it to the policy committee with Ron and add more detail and have discussion and come back to you. on
I need
September
a
Okay.
flow
20th.
chart.
So
Okay,
we table it to September
Ah, that
20th?
just sounds simple.
okay, so I need a motion to table it until September
I
20th?
make a motion, I already made the motion once, but.
Okay, it's been
Nobody
moved by Ron, seconded by Kara to
invested
table. All those in favor of tabling this? Okay, 11, right? Yeah, 11, 0, 0. Okay. All right, standing subcommittee reports, so actually standing committee reports. So, just,
So when we have that, usually I put it in.
right. So does anybody have anything to bring forth from their committees previously?
I would just like to say that yesterday, Dr. Naaman and I, we went to the VOC, and he was introduced to everybody at Mid-Maine Tech, and I think he found it to be a very, very nice place to be. Yeah, that's it so far. We have our first meeting on 17.
Okay,
And I appreciate that because I really got to see some of our kids in the program.
And they didn't
And
have
it
any
was-
idea who you
It
were.
was a great program. They were just wondering, who's this guy that's coming and watching?
so,
Thanks.
did we have, are we all set as far as negotiations? There's nothing forthcoming that we know of, are we all, I think we're all set there, okay. No, just double checking, and, the other committees, facilities, do you have anything right now that we, okay, so we'll move forward with this on the, on how to move forward, I guess, on September 20th, on doing any further. Dr. Naaman, would you
Yep.
like to, do a
So-
report?
Sure. What I would do is I would attach a superintendent report. And on this one, basically I just had a general topic of division, but once we have that strategic planning, that would become something that I present to you as my goal, the strategic planning. But this was general, and I think there was a good point made on that. I'll be more specific. In regard to my report, what I would do each month, I would have what I call Superintendent's Recognition Award. And that basically is that I wanted to recognize a student in terms of student leadership. And that, then I also have one it's called Unsung Hero. And the whole intention is, as I go around the district, there are folks that have been here, let's say 30, 40 years, they're doing that, and we kind of take it for granted who, the work they do. So the intention is to bring them forward and for me to recognize the individual. Then each month, the principals will submit what I call a culture climate report, and it will be attached to your packet. Basically, is what is taking place in the school. And that culture climate basically is what's going on in school, the events. You have that added to your packet next time. And you also will have in my superintendent personnel report. You have in your packet as well financial report, which thanks to Tara, you have the detailed financial report. Yes.
Just a question, so are they still gonna report, like, have conversation
Yes,
with us?
yes.
Or just gonna be a report? in the-
Yeah, so you're gonna have the culture climate to get a heads up what's going on.
Right.
And then we can open it up to, it says Benton, if you'd like to know more, so they don't do individually each report, because you already have what's going on, but if there's a specific thing you want to know more, then they will do that, rather than just taking time for each one.
You're gonna front load, so the beauty is, it'll be all front loaded,
Who's
we
winning
can
the Red
scan
Sox
it, and then
game?
if we have questions, we can ask.
Yes.
Yes.
That was
Woo,
the,
baby, let's give this man a round of applause.
you want them the other way, though? Do you like it the other way?
Well, no, we could try it this way. I mean, I think there's value in having a conversation, having them report
Sure.
information rather than just get a paragraph, but,
Oh, it's gonna be like a newsletter kind of thing, you know?
right, yeah. I mean, I think there's certainly value in having a conversation.
Sure.
with the principals.
Sure.
I don't think we invalue that, so.
Sure,
yeah.
I agree. So when we do the cultural primary report, then we'll have the principals really to take part in it and get engaged more. And then we can examine to see if you guys like it or not. You know, we can change it as we go, the month after. Because I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I think we could try it.
Sure.
this way, yeah.
Thanks. And then you have a financial report. Thanks to Tara, basically, it's a similar to layout, what you guys have before. When you have finance and facility meeting, basically Tara and I and all the folks are there to do similar reporting and more depth conversation about it. If we have one.
Yep.
I didn't say this.
No,
When we
that's
go into
great.
policy meeting.
Yep. We'll figure it out.
Enrollment report. I gave you the enrollment report, and what I'd like to do is give you grade level, like, do you guys like the layout? You have,
Yeah, no, that was nice.
and what you notice that we have 35 more kids than last time. Enrollment went up in the summer. The bulk of that was junior high school and high school. But just want to give you an idea of what's going on in terms of the enrollment. And then that will change with the pre-K, because what you see for the pre-K, all are at Fairfield Elementary. And then next time, once we have the program, it will be reflected, let's say 22, whatever, 17 or 16 at Clinton as well. That's why you don't see a number there. And then I wanted to share with you communication. I don't know if you guys like that or not. I usually put away the complaints and I only send you nice letters. I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. I just wanted to share with you some of the letters that we have. And then the letter that went out, my letter, and share with you the idea of a school council, which is a sort of a fair representation in each school to begin that conversation. So that is my superintendent report.
Very good.
So, okay. Anybody have any questions, concerns, anything?
I like the breakdown of the new hires and.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
if
the
that's
new
nice.
hires with the photos and everything, fantastic, love it.
Yeah.
Did I do that? I forgot.
Yes, you did it.
Somebody did.
I like getting
Yeah,
it
I
front
did.
look, the reason I like it front
Roberta
look-
did it. I took credit for it.
Thank you.
Oh, Janine did it. I forgot. I
Janine
took
did
credit
that.
for it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
The reason I like it front loaded like this and getting stuff up front is it gives us time to process and react to it.
Yes.
The other thing that isn't on here, that, I don't know if this would happen in the committee, like one of the committees or whatever, but, you know, as one of our board, like, duties is tasked with curriculum, right? And, I definitely, like, I love to hear the principals get up and talk about what you're talking about your school, but I kind of would like a little bit more of a robust discussion around some, you know, curriculum aspects where we're able to have, and I don't know if that would be a board thing or on a committee, but, you know, there are questions, like, I think for us, we're on a learning curve, and it would be interesting to have some more of those, like, it's good to know about the things that are happening in the schools, but it's also good to have some of those, like, deeper dives.
I totally agree. I think when we have I don't mean to repeat this, Ron. Ron is not here, and I'm just going to say, the educational programs, then you have a full, like the point you made, there's like a full robust discussion on it, so we'll see. I definitely will do both. I mean, I'm trying to see how it goes this first meeting and take your suggestions, which were all good, and then change it next time, to make it better. And I appreciate the feedback, though.
And in communication this time, though, we didn't put in the packet, I didn't see it, or the discussion about the busing. So I didn't know if we wanted to have a discussion about it.
Yeah, we're gonna have a discussion, probably in September, the next meeting. We wanted to give it a chance to, work itself out over the next, couple, 3 weeks. Things are gonna change, and I know that, Dr. Naaman is, addressing issues as they come up. So, but we'll have a better understanding if by mid, the next meeting.
And maybe just an email to the board about what the strategic approaches are about it. Like, I like that we're gonna work through it a little bit, but just some of the things that you're
I think-
looking at.
Sure. I think what I was going to do is to begin right away to visit each school, to have a meeting with the parents and to listen, and then collect all of that, talk to the principal of each building because they all have good suggestions how they can fix this. Take the suggestion, go to go to the administration and figure out how we can do it, and then collectively send you the email. Here's what I received feedback. Here, sounds good? Yeah, I'm going to do that. But I think the key thing, to be honest with you, is listening to everyone collectively. But right now, every parent that calls my cell phone, I call them back immediately. And I think the idea is to just be heard. It doesn't matter what time. Just a matter of for them to be heard and for us to do something. So I'm going to do it that way. I think I'm going to start tomorrow to start collecting at each school and site, and then come back to you to see what, does that sound good, Ron?
Sounds very good.
Yeah, I think having a formal discussion about it rather than just
Right.
Right.
throwing information. If
Yeah.
you make an offer to have a formal conversation,
Right.
then it might vet more
Yeah,
positive
Yeah,
or good information.
I'll bring it back to you in regard to what took place.
yeah.
Sounds good?
Has the board got complaints? Has everybody getting complaints?
I have,
I've not
Not
received
me.
it.
I've received
Not a
many
one.
complaints, so.
Honky dory.
So hopefully I get a chance to come to you, to each school, and then collect the same ones, you know? So hopefully we'll compile that coming to your school and you hear the same message, but I just want to hear all, compile it. All right?
And,
Super.
and
Did you call me or you said super?
did anybody else have anything, other items they'd like to bring? I would actually like to kind of tell you something that I had actually heard from a parent last Friday night. If most of you have noticed, you've gotten the robocalls. We got the robocall about the emergency button that got hit here. And I will tell you, the parent that I spoke to last Friday night actually said to me, she was very impressed that, first of all, Dr. Naiman sent the robocall, and then he also did a second robocall to let them know what happened. And they were impressed that they felt that they knew what was going on. There was transparency, so they really appreciated that. So that I will say that
Do you
that
think
has come back to me
Do you think
personally.
they're going to be sick of me though after a while?
Well, they might. Either that, or they just won't answer their phone calls when it says Laura. My phone says LHS. Sometimes it goes to voicemail. I don't always pick it up. I do. I mean, Tim, you had something about your daughter. You told me was like the new schedule, getting up in the morning and.
Oh, the late start, I mean, I have to bring us to work
Oh,
so. No, I just think it works better. I just hope everybody gives us the opportunity. You have to remember, we've been in school for a week. Preschool just started today, kindergarten was last week, so still a lot of pictures being taken. First day of school, gotta have that picture with the bus.
Yeah.
I haven't heard a lot of issues about morning time, which makes me feel concerned, why the afternoon but not the morning, so I think we just need to be patient. A lot of it, I think, will work its way out. It's been a week, I mean, give it a chance. All change is difficult.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Work
going to
through
affect
change.
everybody in different ways. Change is difficult, so.
Any
be
other
patient.
business to come before the board?
I just want to thank the Kennebec Sheriff, Fairfield Police Chief, the Clinton Police Chief, Fire Department Chief. I had a meeting with
Somerset
all.
County?
We had,
Somerset
Did I miss
County?
someone? Somerset County?
Yeah.
I met with all of them, including our resource officer. We had a conversation, we shared our contact information. They're all part of the school messenger, so they're gonna hate me too because they're getting the same messages. So the information goes through them, we communicate with them, and I just wanted to tell you, I appreciate them reaching out to try to meet. So, thanks everyone.
It's all working.
And, we didn't really have an official, like, hearty welcome, but welcome to our first board
Thank
meeting.
you, thank you. I have to set these tables different because I can't see you.
Yeah, I don't like that. You're gonna give.
And
My neck hurts right now.
Normally, like, Ron and I sit next to each other, there's like a, so that.
There's like a
that
thing
might
between
tag
us.
team.
All
tell
right,
Al.
anybody else this evening? No. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Moved by Katie, seconded by Danielle, or was it Kara? Seconded by Kara. All those in favor?
Hey.
Unanimous.
Danielle, did you get your